Today, you're gonna get to watch sellers talk about their experience selling a property to me and my company, Subject To, and we're gonna go over very quickly 5 myths that are associated with Subject To. Number 1, nobody knows what Subject To is. Well, actually, that's surprisingly accurate. A lot of people do not know what Subject To is, but that is my mission. My mission is to normalize the conversation around creative finance. Subject To was actually unknown to the sellers when we bought this property from them. They will actually talk about that. They had no clue what it meant. Why was Subject To such a good fit for them? Well, I'll let them tell you that in this seller testimonial. Number 2, I bought this property with no cash, no credit, or 0 credentials, meaning I didn't have to use my credit. I didn't have to use any credentials like tax history, job history, bank records. Literally none of that was used in this transaction. I did have to use some cash, but it was not my cash. I actually used a private money lender in this transaction. If you don't know what a private money lender is, type in Pace Morby private money lender anywhere in YouTube and it will pop up a couple of series of videos that explains to you what is private money and why do we use it. And then number 3, why did the sellers sell the property to via Subject To, which means they're giving me the house and selling the mortgage to me. I'm taking the mortgage over Subject To, which means I'm taking over those payments. I don't have to apply for a credit. Seller has the mortgage stay in their name, and I get to make cash flow on this property, which is pretty cool. Sellers were so absolutely happy, and the reason being is because their agent actually couldn't sell the house for them. This is happening more and more frequently where a seller hires an agent and an agent only knows how to sell a cash transaction. An agent only knows how to put a sign in the yard, to put open houses, and their broker actually has been maybe in the business 20, 30 years and has never seen a transaction like this. Surprising to me because this is the only way that I buy properties. This is the only way a lot of my students and fellow investors buy properties as well as Subject To. But unfortunately, I stopped listening to what agents say long time ago. Here's the thing that happened on this transaction is there was an agent, all right, that after 5 months couldn't sell this house. And instead of looking for alternative methods like Subject To or seller finance, the agent basically walked away from the transaction, whereas they could have made $12,000 in the process. I would have happily paid them, right? People believe that agents do not get paid. I would have paid the agent their full commission, no problem. But instead, here's what happened. Sellers of this property, which you guys will see a testimonial of, hired this agent, and after 5 months or so, this agent was not able to sell the property. One of my students in my Subto community reached out to this agent, noticed that the listing had been on the market for a good amount of time and said, hey, is there any way that your seller would be open to letting me just take over the payments? The agent says no. Of course, they never reached out to the seller. This is a typical thing that agents will do. Is it really the seller saying they don't want something? No, unfortunately, it's the agent and their inability to explain creative finance to their seller that they will repeatedly say, no, we're not interested. What ended up happening is that my Subto student went directly to the seller after having the agent block them for a number of weeks. The seller says, why did our agent not bring this to us? And ultimately, the agent decided to walk away from the transaction. Whereas if they would have just learned from my student how to do this transaction, they would have gotten paid their commission. On top of my student getting paid a $10,000 assignment fee, okay? That was a cool thing too, is that the sellers were so happy that in this interview, I actually asked them, did you know that my student made money? They made an assignment fee assigning this contract to me. And they go, yeah, we know. I think he made something like $10,000. And I said, does that bother you? The answer is, of course it doesn't bother us. We received a service. We want to pay for that service. And if it's in the form of an assignment fee and or commission, we don't care how people get paid. We just care that people get paid for a service they provide to us. So unfortunately, the agents that I typically work with, they do get paid, but this agent walked away instead of getting educated. People ask me this all the time. In fact, I was on the Iced Coffee Hour. There should be a link in the description down below with Graham, Stefan, and Jack. And as I'm wrapping up this hour-and-a-half long podcast, Jack says, Pace, why would you teach anybody this? I said, Jack, it's the best lead gen you could ever imagine. Think about this. If I go out and I teach 1,000 Jordans how to go out and find these opportunities, Jordan's may be brand new and he doesn't feel comfortable owning a rental or an Airbnb or something along those lines, I can teach a Subto student of mine how to go find these deals and get paid $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 just finding the deal. They don't have to own it. They don't have to flip it. They literally can just find it, get it under contract, and I will buy it from them and pay them a finder's fee, also known as an assignment. In fact, in 2022, I paid the largest assignment fee I've ever paid. I paid one human being $210,000 for finding a similar deal for me. And these things are so common, but I used to have to find all of my deals myself, right? But what I did is I started an education company and we started a community, and I started getting probably about 40 to 60% of my deals today come from my community. So if you're trying to be this guy right here, right? The person who goes out and finds the deals, there's a link down below. See if you guys can join the community. You can learn how to find these types of opportunities. If you want to be an agent that utilizes creative finance and doesn't miss out on 5 months of work, walking away, whereas you could have made $12,000 in commissions, then you should click on the same link. We want to teach agents how to do creative finance as well. And if you want to be like me, right? I used to be this guy that found the deals. Now I'm the guy that buys all the deals. There's so many people that make money in these transactions. If you want to be somebody like me that acquires property, gets tax benefits, gets cash flow, and ultimately financial freedom, click the link down in the description and apply for our Subto community. But in the meantime, enjoy the video. I hope this testimonial helps you out and helps you dispel these 5 myths about creative finance. Okay, so how is Jordan? How does Jordan getting paid?
He told me it was just some sort of like finder's fee. He said that he was gonna get like 10 grand for it or something like that.
Love it, and you don't have a problem with that. He solved the problem.
Yeah, I mean, he solved our problem.
Yeah.
No issue with that at all.
Okay, so that's what's freaking cool about this, okay? All right, so what are your guys' names?
My name is Kristen.
My name is Lincoln.
Awesome, and you guys just sold your house to Pace Morby, right?
Yes.
Correct.
How did the team treat you guys, by the way?
They were great.
It was amazing.
I mean,
Who was your favorite person? Molly?
I would say we mainly dealt with Jordan, and Jordan was freaking awesome.
Okay, so Jordan is who originally found the opportunity,
Correct.
and Jordan brought the opportunity to me.
Yes.
And you guys know how that all worked and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, he pretty much explained everything throughout.
So how did Jordan originally reach out to you? Because I don't know the answer to this.
I actually was working for a mortgage company, and one of my coworkers, I mentioned that we were trying to sell our house, was like, man, I know somebody who is an investor, would love this opportunity. Let me give you his name. He set up a chat with him, and we went from there with Jordan.
Was it a phone call or like a Zoom or a text? Or
it was text and phone call followed by that.
And what did you tell Jordan? And what did Jordan offer to you as like an option to sell the house?
We told him basically what we were trying to do was sell the house so we could add on to our house for my family. And he went over a couple different options and kind of went over the creative financing, and we had no idea what it was at first. And
when you first heard about it, you were like, wait, is this real? Or is it,
Yeah, well, we had never heard about it, and then this was after like 2 months of us trying to sell the house, and we're like, okay, we need to get it sold. Nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden,
Chase.
Chase, yeah, Chase is Jordan's friend or something, and then Jordan reached out and talked to us about it, and we talked to our realtor, and he had never heard of it either, and he was kind of more of a kind of beware sort of thing, more skeptical, and then.
So I'm always curious because I'm not a licensed real estate agent. Okay, I'm an investor. So what happens for me is I'm like, I always wonder what happens, like, because we'll get agents that will say, oh, this is illegal. It's like, no, you had to know how to do this to pass your real estate exam. You just failed that portion of it. And it's in the Arizona State Code and all that kind of stuff. It's nationwide. So I always wonder, what does the conversation look like with your realtor when they tell you, this sounds scary and this sounds not legitimate? Do you guys immediately go, I'm not going to talk to Jordan anymore? Or were you like, let's explore it?
It was a little bit, because I mean, we were definitely skeptical, and our realtor is a good friend of ours. So we were like,
you trust him?
Yeah, we trust him. And then all of a sudden, this creative financing thing comes in, and we're like, holy shit. This is exactly what we need, really.
It almost seems like too good to be true, right?
100%.
For sure. I couldn't tell you how many times she said that.
I was like, this can't be real. Like, how is this really happening?
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the greatest.
I mean, especially coming from the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
Because I only see the traditional sales.
Right. What convinced you that it was real? How did you know it was real?
Once we talked to Molly for the first time, I think with her really like going through stuff, made it make more sense.
He gave us everything that we needed to know. Like, I mean, it was very influential, but we just still were kind of
like an additional layer of credibility that you needed. Is that what it was, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
Probably just to make sure that, I don't know, it was real with more than one person.
That's the funniest thing ever. So you guys have an existing mortgage. Who's the existing mortgage with?
With the house that we just sold or the other house?
To me.
It's with US Bank.
Yeah.
So with US Bank, you guys, do you know how much you owe on it?
I believe it was 270.
Yeah, 270, 270.
Okay, so 270. You sold it to me for how much?
For something.
407. I think it's 407. I saw the paperwork. 407 was the number, I think.
Yeah, it's
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so you're getting how much money today?
50.
You're getting 50, and then I'm taking over the existing payments,
Correct.
and then I'm also taking over the existing tenant.
Correct.
How long is that tenant going to be in the property? Do you remember?
Until October of 2024.
Okay, cool. So why could you not sell the house? Was it the number you were trying to sell it for, or was it the market is trending downward? What do you think was the reason you couldn't sell
One,
it?
I believe, is because there's a tenant in there.
Yeah. So we were trying to sell it as an investment property at a 6 or 7% rate, and because the mortgage is solidified for until October of 2024, the payments, you'd be losing money because of the interest rate. Where in that sense, you guys were able to take over our interest rate at 3%.
We were
You're
told
able
the
to actually
only
make
way
money.
it would sell is if it was an assumable loan.
And it's not an assumable loan.
It's not an assumable loan, which is funny.
Yeah.
We just took it over subject to. I love that you're in the mortgage industry too. Okay, so you guys list the property. Do you remember when you listed the property?
I want to say it was right after No, it was before Halloween.
Yeah, I thought it was September or something because I think it was
either
a
end of
solid
September.
3 months.
You're in the mortgage industry, so you knew like interest rates were going up. You saw what was happening to the investor world, and you were probably like biting your nails a little bit, or you weren't worried too much.
It wasn't that I was not worried. I just didn't think it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And we
Because-
kind of needed
especially
it
when
to-
we found out it wasn't assumable.
Yeah, and we kind of needed it to go somewhere because, as we were saying, we're pulling our hair out with the in-laws, and we kind of need to give them their own house and kind of build a casita for them, and we need this money to be able to do that.
Which is interesting too, because I'm sure you guys thought about, well, we have enough equity in the deal. Why don't we just refinance?
But then if we refinance, the rates are so
Our
much higher.
payment would
Can't.
have like doubled.
Yeah.
So the payment would have doubled. It would have made it so your tenant in the property was not covering your mortgage, and you guys would have been hemorrhaging.
Oh yeah.
Isn't this the coolest thing that like this solves every little problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been great for us.
What happened with your agent? How did you guys handle that?
Well, it's kind of a weird subject because we never signed a listing agreement with our agent. Because otherwise, Jordan was telling us in doing research with that brokerage that they usually have something signed where you cannot drop the listing.
Yeah, without.
Well, you can't put it on the MLS.
Yeah, he wasn't going to have us sign anything until we had a potential buyer. But we were never even told of this. He told that to Jordan.
What were some of your biggest concerns? One, you'd never heard of it. Anything else?
We couldn't
Mainly
really
that. We just
find
couldn't
much
really wrap our
online,
head
yeah.
around that. You're going to give us the money that we want, and then, who cares if you have to wait 8 years or whatever for the rest of it. Yeah, it would have been nice to sell the house up front and get a, big lump sum.
But in the long run, we're
going to make way more money.
So it's like a win-win-win-win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Okay, so no other concerns at all? Because I have like 5 other concerns that sellers usually have about this.
I mean, honestly, not really. I mean, we just kind of trusted the process, what we were going through, and asked questions when we had them. And I mean, Jordan was really good at answering them really quickly, or once we got Molly's contact information, if we had any questions, she could answer them pretty much on the spot.
The one question that we had that Molly addressed was so what happens when we want to go buy another house? Is that
sitting
is that
on our
mortgage going to be
credit.
still on our
Credit.
debt to income? And she was saying after a year being able to provide the documents showing that you guys are paying for everything, that it'll be a wash.
Because when I tried to buy a new car recently,
Yeah,
they wouldn't approve me because they were crediting both of our mortgages 100% against me, where we split them.
Yeah, so the way we do it, I'm sure Molly explained this pretty well, but I actually learned how to do this when I was in LO. I would have all these people come to me and go, hey, I want to buy another rental property. And we'd look at their debt to income ratio and go, we can't. You can't do this. And then I had this more experienced LO come to me and goes, dude, what are you dumb? What we do is we do this, this, and this, and we get the DTI to be pulled off, but it has to be serviced. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a thing? This is really what happens? He goes, yeah, look at all my clients that have 10 plus rental properties. How do you think they qualify for them?
Which is something that we were talking about while we were
Exactly.
starting to go through this. We're like, how does it make sense that anybody can buy another property when they already have all these rentals?
We have all these people who buy all of these different properties and stuff. There's no way that they're making, they got to be making, $100 million a year or some freaking crazy thing to be able to afford all these places. But no, it's because you're able to.
What about well, I think one of the bigger ones that people worry about, sellers in general, is they worry what happens if, like, Pace, because I'm the buyer, what happens if Pace dies and the payment doesn't get made? Do you worry about that at all?
No, because it's all through a servicing company, isn't it?
It is through a servicing company. What's the worst case scenario for you guys? So let's say that I die, my company implodes, everything in my whole entire world, whatever, and everything in my world ceases to exist. What happens to your house?
We take the $50,000 and take the house back over.
Boom! There you go. It's like the best case scenario for you. Let's see, what are the other major concerns? Anything else that popped up in your guys' minds?
Not really.
I think having a few different people kind of more solidify the fact that this
credibility.
Is, layers of credibility definitely help, solidify it that it's, this is real. This is
your
happening.
agent know you end up selling it through this method, subject to?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the bad thing about your agent. I feel bad for him. Is that we would have paid him his commission if he actually helped the process.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, and we talked about
had
this.
Him step back from it.
Yeah, because like when we talked to him about it and we told him about it, he just kind of was. And then Jordan was communicating with him, and Jordan's like, I haven't heard from him. I've been trying to get a hold of him. Then I would reach out and be like, hey, Taylor, have you talked to Jordan? Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, Jordan hasn't been answering my phone calls, and as I'm texting Jordan, he's like, dude, I've been trying to get a hold of him. Like,
classic. It's a little frustrating, but what it is we find, like I was talking to a broker this morning about a deal in Arkansas that I'm buying, and I asked the broker, I go, hey, can you pitch seller finance to your client on this deal? It's been on the market for 6 months, it hasn't sold. He says, a week ago, my client's not interested.
The client probably doesn't understand the process.
The client probably doesn't even know.
Boom.
Or doesn't.
Client didn't know, and the broker never even approached him about it. And then what I've learned over all these years of doing it is that because the broker didn't understand how to do it, he never brought it to the seller. And in your guys' situation, you're making more money. The house sold faster. It was an easier process because guess what we did? How long was my inspection? Do you guys know?
When you went there? No idea.
I think it was 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
So I didn't send an appraiser. You guys in your business, you send appraisers, right? Because you guys have to protect your butt.
Yeah.
Appraisers, inspections, and you have to pay for all of those as well.
Right, and home warranties a lot of times too.
Yeah, true.
So you didn't have to worry about a home warranty. You didn't have to worry about closing costs, appraisals. I don't know, whatever we bought it for, I don't know if it'll appraise for that, but obviously the market wasn't biting at what it's worth. So we paid more than the market was willing to pay. You guys are gonna make more long-term, and you get money today.
Yes.
And your agent wasn't willing to help you out.
I mean, he just didn't understand.
He didn't understand. Yeah, that's the thing. Is that he didn't. When we approached him with him, he didn't know.
Right.
So there's no way that he could have even helped us, and that's why Jordan pretty much took over everything.
Which is, I think, partially why we kind of had him step out of it as well, just because he didn't know the process.
Yeah.
So we didn't.
He was just muddying the waters.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay, so if I'm a seller or I'm a real estate agent and I go, I think this is illegal. What would you say to an agent or a seller, your guys' experience with our team?
I mean, we definitely didn't believe it at first, but just learning more about it and listening and taking it all in, you can put the pieces all together where it 100% makes sense.
And having the multiple sources of credibility and stuff like that, everybody kind of going through all the little steps of the process kind of helped.
Yeah, there was no stone left unturned. For any questions that we had, everything got answered and 100% made sense.
Amazing. What could my team have done better? Anything?
I don't think so.
No, it was literally
a seamless
smooth it could possibly
like
be.
Like you reached out to Molly or you reached out to Jordan and people were on top of it the whole time.
100%.
Interesting. Molly's dope.
I didn't meet her yesterday, but Lincoln did when she picked up paper.
She's great, isn't she?
Yeah,
she's
great.
Okay, so last question. Anything that you wish you knew earlier, faster, more in depth in the process that would have made it easier for you guys?
I mean, I wish we knew about this option before we listed our house, because then we
would have made everything so much quicker.
We wouldn't have had to go through the hassle of having a photographer come in, take professional pictures, and going over every little document to release it on the MLS. And if we knew this was an option, I 100% would have gone this route.
So subject to solved every problem you guys had.
Yeah.
Absolutely.